Hey team. The new trailer that just came out for the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet games specifically the competitive trailer. Some new and exciting stuff going on in there in regards to how the actual competitive side of the game is going to work, which is something that I was worried at first wasn't going to be ultra focused on in Pokemon going forward, but it definitely seems that Pokemon has that in their lens and they just wanted to wait some time to really give people that information. And they waited until Worlds, also the Pokemon World Championship, which I think was an appropriate place to show people the new information. On the more fun things that they showed in the trailer, just quick notes. First of all, I like the little lizard. They look really fun. The little bike lizards, Cyclosaur, yeah, they're cute, and I like the idea of kids riding around on them like neighborhood bikes. It's a dragon normal type, which really makes me think it's going to either evolve or somehow interact into one of the box legendaries to see how that goes. Dragon normal is an interesting type though. It's certainly fun, and it is a little bit of uniqueness. Drampa is another dragon normal type. Pretty fun stuff. The menus also look very nice. The health bars and the actual like battle select screen, the logistics showing the trainer cards before getting into battle, it looks very sleek. It looks very new, and I think it is a marked improvement actually from Sword and Shield. I know that the cycle is happening right now where the people say, oh, this looks even worse than Sword and Shield, who are just recently saying that the Sword and Shield tree is the worst thing they've ever seen. No, it looks very nice, and I think it's going to keep improving. They're showing their hand more and more. It's a lot of fun stuff. The actual battle mechanics, items, moves, new things that they have going on. We'll start in the order that they were shown in the video. Shedtail is obviously very powerful. Shedtail is going to see a lot of experimentation and a lot of usage. There's no doubt about that. Shedtail drops 50% max health and pivots and drops a substitute for the Pokemon that switches in. This is extremely powerful. Substitute is an extremely powerful tool, and if you can get substitute set up, then the Pokemon with the substitute is in a great position to do essentially whatever it wants. It's got an additional shield that can take more than one hit. Also, it's not a protect. It can be, but it's has a certain amount of health, which it's exciting with Shedtail because Shedtail can come off of a bulky Pokemon, set a substitute into a frailer Pokemon, and then assuming that it follows the rules that substitute has followed so far, then the substitute that is set for the weaker Pokemon will have the health bar of the big Pokemon. Whether or not that's the 50% health bar or it is the health of the normal substitute remains to be seen. The cost is a big deal. 50% maximum health without healing is a big deal because you get to use it once per full health bar. You cannot use a move that cuts your health if you have that amount of health left. You cannot use Substitute with 25% health left. So you use Shedtail, you go down to 50. You can no longer use Shedtail without healing. However, plenty of ways to get around this. Things like Leech Seed, Grassy Terrain, Leftovers, Shell Bell, even Regenerator. If a Pokemon is able to combine Regenerator and Shedtail, that could be really powerful. The pivot moves have already seen so much competitive play and are already such strong and a powerful force, especially if you can go second with them. Even if you're going first with a pivot move, it's still strong. And pivot moves up until this point have been U-turn, a bug type, physical, do damage, and then switch out move. Volt Switch, a special type, electric type move, switch, do damage, then switch out. And then Flip Turn, recently added in Sword and Shield, physical, water type move, do damage, and then switch out. With the ability to add an effect on top of just pivoting out is maybe interested to see if they add more types of moves like this that switch you out and then do something interesting, but also is just going to be very powerful, especially with Substitute. Like I've said already so far, if you can go first with it, you can potentially read an opponent's attack. If you switch out and you're fairly certain that the other Pokemon is going to attack you in some way, you switch into somebody that can eat that blow pretty easily. Boom, done. If you go second with a pivoting move, you get to essentially get the read on what the next turn is going to be. You eat a move from the opponent's Pokemon, and then you position yourself for the next best turn possible. They're all momentum boosting. They're major momentum boosting, and Shedtail is going to be just like that, maybe even more. As long as the Pokemon that is switching out can maybe get above 50, maybe just once is enough, honestly. It's a very powerful effect. just on paper, it looks really good, but there's a lot that you could potentially do there to make it even better, like running a really bulky Pokemon or having some passive healing on your team, so make sure that you can do it at least once, or something like Mimikyu I've heard talked about, where it has the disguise, the one hit on top of Substitute, so that would be a guaranteed at least 2 hits with Mimikyu. If Mimikyu was shed-tailed onto, you could just Swords Dance twice and then go to work. Unsure if that'll be happening, but it's ideas like that. Ice-Q, I know Ice-Q is not as popular. It's got that big ice face, but also worked the same way. Very, very strong move, no doubts about that. And they showed some hold items afterwards, the first of which being the Mirror Herb, which I think looks very gimmicky, unfortunately. It's a cool idea, and I'm glad that they're adding it. It's I guess a welcome item to kind of copy your opponent's boosts. The Mirror Herb copies any opposing stat boosts, not just changes, stat boosts. So if a Pokemon uses Leaf Storm, goes down in special attack, it does not copy that boost, but if a Pokemon used Flame Charge and goes up speed, you would also get the speed. And of course, in the trailer, they showed a Titan copying Belly Drum off of a Azumarill and not getting the damage cost of Belly Drum. Also, specifically, I should mention that it mentions the opponent's move. Even though with that wording, I feel that this wouldn't be the case, but Mirror Herb could potentially be not even just a little bit better, but just really, really good if you could somehow use it to copy your other Pokemon in a double battle. Like if you were using Azumarill and Titan holds Mirror Herb and Azumarill Belly Drums first, and then you get 2 Pokemon with drastically boosted attack. I do not believe that's how the item works, but if it did by some unspoken means, that would make it significantly more powerful, and I think it would see a lot of usage then. The issue with Mirror Herb is that it is a one-time use item. As soon as it's used, it's gone away, and stat changes don't stick either. You get the stat change, and if you swap or you get knocked out, it's over. And there are plenty of moves that raise your stats just one level, like Charge Beam comes to mind, Flame Charge, even though these aren't incredibly common competitive moves, or like they're incredibly popular moves. Another one, maybe more powerful, Ancient Power, Agility, Swords Dance. These are still good. Agility and Swords Dance are even better. Dragon Dance, that's a pretty popular one. Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, Agility, +1/+1 to speed and attack, +2 to speed, +2 to attack. Use it and it's gone. And the other issue is that you need to be able to predict with this. You need to be able to know that your opponent is going to boost. And that is not always the easiest thing, because, you know, mind games are going on in Pokemon. They are trying to get me to boost. I think they have a Mirror Herb. I think they might have, or I think they don't have a Mirror Herb, or, you know, the back and forth with the chess play of Pokemon. So you need to be able to call that your Pokemon is going to boost if you're really going to lay into the usage with Mirror Herb. And then also you need to make sure that you get the boost to actually do something, because if the boost isn't into speed and you're still going second, you might just get decked right there. They're still getting set up to sweep. You're essentially going even with them, and unless you immediately take advantage of the Mirror Herb, and presumably you would be playing like every turn they would try to set up against you, and it could be used as anti-setup. Maybe some sort of anti-setup wall where if you also get set up in addition to what you're normally doing, things become very bad very quickly for your opponent. But you're going to have to act with a level of strategy in order to pull that off, and I just don't see it happening very often unless it's on a very well-rounded Pokemon that is already doing super, super well for itself. I don't think that it's an item that will help out Pokemon that really need it too much, and that's my main criticism of it. As much as I enjoy and appreciate the effect, I think it's very novel and unique and will make battling in-game and casual battling more interesting. Next item of the show is the Loaded Dice, which this is a really cool item. I am a big fan of the Loaded Dice. I think that this is honestly a long time coming. Multi-hit moves, they've kept improving them over the years. They've originally in Gen 1, I would say they were like borderline awful. Yeah, for sure, borderline awful the multi-hit moves were. They've received improvements over the generations, and now they do things like If you hit through Substitute, it continues to hit. If you hit through Focus Sash and you have more hits, it continues to hit. They have Scale Shot, the newest multi-hit move, actually gives you stat bonuses on top of using it if it manages to connect. Scale Shot makes your speed go up a stage and your defense go down a stage when you use it. And this is where I think coming kind of to an apex of all of these multi-hit moves. There's not a ton of them. Here's the list of available multi-hit moves. There's not a ton of them, and they could definitely use some work or more of them, more types, more effects. But the only way that multi-hit moves are ever generally used is with skill link, because it becomes a guaranteed factor. This has changed recently with Scale Shot, I'll get into. But with skill link is usually the only place that you're going to see these multi-hit moves, unless a Pokemon is really, really pressed for a certain type of coverage or a certain base damage. That's generally not going to happen though. Skill link is an ability that raises the Pokemon's multi-hit moves to always hit 5 times. So it goes from 2 to 5 to just strictly 5. That's your whole ability though, and generally these Pokemon also are relying on a pretty powerful hold item, Focus Sash, Life Orb. You see this on Cloyster. You see this on Cloyster in single sets historically, that it needs some sort of extra coverage, and it relies pretty heavily on skill link, using Icicle, Spear, Rock Blast. Pretty good coverage moves in that way, and they're always hitting for that maximum amount. So another interesting thing about multi-hit moves and how this is going to strangely interact with loaded dice is that they do not have an equal percentage spread across them. Multi-hit moves, and all of them are this way in the current generation. Don't worry, I checked. Every multi-hit move to hit 2 and 3 times is 35% apiece. So 35, 35. That's 70 right there. And then to hit 4 times and 5 times is 15% apiece. So that's 15 and 15 to 30. So ultimately adds up to your 100%. So it is always more likely that you get either 2 or 3 hits on a multi-hit move if you're using it normally. And this is probably the biggest weakness of the multi-hit moves, because you're not really doing much with 2 and 3. You would definitely prefer a different move if you were getting 2 and 3 hits every time. However, this has changed recently with Scale Shot, and I would lump Water Shuriken in there. But Greninja has its own thing going on with Water Shuriken. We don't really need to dive into that. Scale Shot has been seen on a lot of Dragon types and Water types. It was given to a lot of Pokemon in the DLC of Sword and Shield because of its additional benefit. It raises its speed a stat, drops your defense a stat, but the point is you're raising your speed while also attack. The more valuable this move is just icing on the cake. So if a Pokemon is a Scale Shotter, it could benefit from loaded dice, because this is a move that is already good. Scale Shot is usable on its own, and if we can make it even more valuable, I will spam Scale Shot all day. It just makes sense. This also makes me think that they are planning on adding more multi-hit moves, because right now the type coverage is not too broad. There is a handful of types, but there's no fire type, there's no fairy type, there's no steel type moves. They have some of them covered. A lot of them are normal. A lot of them do the exact same thing. And I'm looking at you, Fury Swipes, Double Slap, Tail Slap. They all do the same thing. Comet Punch. Ugh. How many times do you have the same move just retrained? It's kind of ridiculous. But the ones that are different types and even better, different effects, those ones are really going to speak to the actual power of loaded dice. If they give loaded dice the moves for powerful hitters to actually use, I think a fairy type multi-hit move that could do it by itself, or just any good effect like Scale Shot, a move that when you use it, it raises your attack a stage, or it raises any of your stats a stage. Really, it would warrant use. The other last little detail though is, how is loaded dice going to specifically mathematically increase the amount of times that you hit a move per turn? Because like I said, 35, 35, 15, 15. Is it going to balance that out where it's 25 all the way through, or is it going to flip the numbers so that it's 15, 15, 35, 35? And either way, that would be an increase. You would see 4 and 5 happen more often. Obviously, the 35s you would prefer on the 4 and 5. It just says more likely. It's not skill link. You're not hitting 5s every time. You're more likely to hit 5s every time. But I think the math is going to be important there, and how powerful loaded dice is, because loaded dice would technically have that definition if it just raised 5 hit by 1%, but I wouldn't use it for that reason. It would be more likely. So what does more likely mean? Are we getting better multi-hit moves? That is what I would like to see. I am very hopeful for this one. They should Breloom using a Terra-type Bullet Seed. And it's exciting. Make Bullet Seed actually useful on a Pokemon like that. Breloom would never use Bullet Seed, usually. Seed Bomb comes to mind. Leaf Blade. I don't know if Breloom can get Leaf Blade. In fact, check me on that one. But normally it would never use Bullet Seed over any other myriad of physical grass options. So we'll just have to see what Loaded Dice actually does. Finally, in this video, they cover some of the various Tera type bits of information. Additionally, not confirmed in the video, but it has been confirmed, is that every Pokemon has access to every Tera type. So they showed at the beginning the 18 different Tera types. Tera type is not going to be locked into specific types. There will be a crystal for each type, and there will be a way to get that type on every Pokemon. They showed Colossal switching into water and activating Steam Engine off of a water type move, and they showed Tyranitar using a ghost type Tera crystal in order to negate its 4 times weakness in fighting, which them showing that, I do think, even though that was already being like theory crafted, where these like, oh, these pseudo legendaries with their one big weakness are going to become unstoppable. I think it's a big deal that Pokemon is showing that at the forefront, because they're saying like, test the limits. Clearly power of scale is being like messed with. They're messing with it, and resultantly we see Tera Blast shown here, which I don't think is a very complicated idea or concept. We've seen Weather Ball before, we've seen Terrain Pulse. This is just a complementary tool that naturally makes sense for a feature like Tera typing. They're making sure that these type changes can be effective no matter what type you choose on what Pokemon, and that's really, really important for this meta change, because it is going to keep that viability across the board with the 18 types. It's very important, but I think that it ultimately speaks for itself. I'm excited to use the move. They are changing things. Things are going to be very, very different, and I think that the metas are going to be looking very, very different. They show, yeah, like Tyranitar is now immune to its main weakness, and it has immune to fighting in normal now. Everything is changing. The world is entirely different. I think that these games are going to be very, very exciting from a battle perspective, and things are going to be much, much different than we're used to. A big mix-up, and that's great. Pokemon could use the I could use the variety. I'm very excited to play these games, if you couldn't already tell. Looking forward to more info, and that's all I got for this time. If you made it this far, thanks a lot, you rock, and I look forward to more Pokemon stuff going on. Alright, see y'all next time. Have a good one.